Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our August 2023 OC HMIS user meeting. Please enter your agency name into the chat box so that we can take attendance. In today's meeting, we will cover the following topics: disabling condition fields, CS assessments, bed reservation process, editing opportunities in HMIS, the history tab, an update regarding the HMIS account update and testing form, project closeout, a notification regarding group enrollment, grant consolidation guidance, COC Dashboard, data quality report card, project performance report, a training announcement, and holiday announcement, and we'll have some time for Q&A for topics discussed in the meeting, and then we'll stay online for office hours for any questions related to HMIS functionality. Armando, can you get us started?
Hi, good morning, everybody. We wanted to provide a refresher on the disabling condition field in HMIS, just to kind of provide a reminder for folks and just touching base on all of the different applicabilities. But starting off with the rationale for the data collection, it's to indicate whether or not clients have a disabling condition. And this is a data element that's used with other information to identify whether a client meets the criteria for chronic homelessness. The applicability is for all of the programs. It's data that's collected for all the clients and every member that would be in a household. The collection point is at the start of the project, and the screens that this is applicable to in HMIS is inside the enrollment screen. The instructions on collecting this data is to record whether the client has a disabling condition at the time of each start of every project. A disabling condition is defined as a physical, mental, or emotional impairment, including an impairment that's caused by alcohol or drug abuse, post-traumatic stress disorder, or brain injury that is expected to be long continuing or of indefinite duration, substantially impedes the individual's ability to live independently, and could be improved by the provision of more suitable housing conditions. On the right side of the screen, you can see a flowchart that outlines the different paths that would help determine whether or not a client has a disabling condition and whether or not they would be considered as experiencing chronic homelessness. At the start, one of the first questions would be, does the client have HIV/AIDS or a developmental disability? Is the condition of an ailment expected to last a long time or last the lifetime of the client? Will the condition prevent the individual from being able to live independently? And could the condition be improved if more suitable housing conditions were provided to the client? Based on the yes and no responses to these questions, case managers and agencies can help determine whether or not the client does or doesn't have a disabling condition. And if there's any questions on any of this information, please feel free to drop a question in the chat and we can go into more detail.
And before we move forward, I just want to let everyone know that we have a staff member that will be providing links to the KB and links to additional materials in the chat, so you guys can also access those as we're moving along in the meeting.
Thank you. And then lastly, some information or some refreshers on updating the disabling condition. There will be instances in which case managers will need to update the disabling condition information for a client. We're sharing here two scenarios that will provide examples of how you can decide the best process for the update that's being made. In scenario one, the client always had a disabling condition, but it wasn't noted in their enrollment. In this scenario, you should update the client's enrollment screen with the disabling condition information and set the disabling condition to yes, and then select one of the categories of the disabling conditions. And then in the second scenario, the client may have a change in their disabling condition status that wasn't present at the time of their project enrollment. And in this case, you would need to do a status assessment, which will track the change of the disabling condition for the client. That will reflect the point in time that it happened.
Thank you, Armando. I don't see any questions coming in, so we'll move forward. Andrew?
Hey everyone, good morning. The HMIS team wanted to provide a brief walkthrough on enrolling clients into the coordinated entry system, just as a friendly reminder. The first step you want to take for enrolling clients into CES would be making sure you are logged in under County of Orange. You can do this by clicking on the agency under your name in the top right corner while logged into HMIS and switching to County of Orange by clicking County of Orange on the dropdown. And if you don't see County of Orange as an available option on the dropdown, you might not have the correct access for enrolling clients into CES. So if that's the case, you want to reach out to your agency administrator, and that way they can submit a ticket, which will be reviewed by us and the CES leads to get you the appropriate access. And the next step would be creating the client in HMIS if they're not already in the system. If they are already in the system, you would just create an enrollment just like any other project. And if you are working with a family, you want to enroll them into the family coordinated entry system. And if you are working with an individual, you want to create enrollment for the individual coordinated entry system. And these program enrollments are going to have some standard enrollment questions, but you want to pay particular attention to questions pertaining to prior living situation, because they will be used to determine SPA and eligibility for different housing opportunities. And then the next step for adding a client to the community queue and serving them through the coordinated entry system would be completing the appropriate CES assessment. And depending on the client you are serving, you want to complete one of the following CES assessments. You either want to complete an individual CES assessment, a family CES assessment, or a veteran CES assessment. And you also want to complete a current living situation assessment. And these assessments can be completed by editing the CES enrollment you just made and then clicking on the Assessments tab. And it is important to note that only one of the CES assessments should be completed per enrollment, and these only need to be completed for the head of household. And then for the current living situation assessment, these are also required for all clients being served in the coordinated entry system. So you want to make sure that you're completing a current living situation assessment whenever you complete a CES assessment, or when the client's living situation changes, or when 90 days has passed since the last current living situation assessment. And to complete the current living situation assessment, you just want to edit the client enrollments and navigate to the program-based assessments tab. And the assessment will have just a few questions regarding the client's current living situation. But if you do select an option that is considered a temporary or permanent housing situation, there will be additional questions to determine whether the client meets HUD's definition of imminent or at risk of homelessness. So please make sure you are answering the assessment as completely and accurately as possible.
Thank you, Andrew. And I also wanted to note that Heather shared a KB that will be helpful for those who are completing the current living situation. So please feel free to review that KB for additional details. We did receive a question. Will there be a reminder to update after 90 days? And Amanda, thank you for that question. We will follow up and verify that and then leave that in the meeting minutes to verify if there is a notification. And then we had a question about entering clients into the queue. Could you please elaborate on that question? Are you asking about the steps to enroll?
Yes. So I know that I thought there was one final step where after you do the current living situation and assessment, there's like a little toggle button where you push to get them on the queue. Because does just filling out these assessments automatically put them on the queue, or is that not how it goes?
Yes, you're correct. Once you complete the CS assessment, it's going to go to another screen and you're going to have a button that says refer to queue. In this slide, we're just going over the assessment itself, but yes, the next step after completing the assessment is setting the client to the community queue, to the appropriate community queue.
Thank you.
So we had a question about if we would get a copy of the training. Yes, at the end of the meeting, we do a recap and we send out a newsletter which would provide you information where to access the slides, the meeting minutes, and the recorded training. And then we had a question about uploading verification. Yes, part of the process is to also update, to review files that the client has under their file tab and upload verification documents as needed. And we will also share a knowledge base article. It is called CS Coordinated Entry for Case Managers that will provide additional details and all the steps needed to add a client to the community queue and all the requirements needed. Thank you all for your questions. I don't see any more, so we'll move forward. And if you do have a question, we do have a section for Q&A at the end. And we wanted to provide an overview of the bed reservation process. We have been receiving some tickets and we thought it would be a great topic to cover in our user meeting. The bed reservation system is available for both family and individual CES. The access points are responsible for adding the client to the bed reservation system and also are responsible to keep communication with the participant and making sure that they're active on the bed reservation for opportunities. In the next slide, we will go over the steps to ensure that the participant are added to the queue and make sure that they're active on the bed reservation queue. Step one is ensuring that the household is enrolled in the appropriate CS project. So whether they are individual or family, making sure that they're enrolled in one of those CS projects. And the next step is uploading the head of household homeless verification into HMIS, and then navigating to add a service under the service tab. The service that you will be adding is called Needs Bed Reservation Assistant. Once you add the service, you would then navigate to complete the current living situation and bed reservation. Once the bed reservation assessment is completed, you will refer the head of household to the bed reservation system. On a weekly basis, you would communicate with the household to ensure that they are still in need of bed reservation. And if that is still the case, every 7 days, you should be adding a new bed reservation service to make sure that the household is active on the bed reservation queue. We also have a KB about the bed reservation. So it is added to the chat. Please feel free to review. It will provide you a little bit more details so that you ensure that you are following the process. And if there's any other questions, feel free to leave in the chat and we can address that during Q&A. So I don't see any questions, so we'll move forward for now. Diana?
Good morning, everyone. We're going to be going over adding and editing housing opportunities. For adding housing opportunities, each housing agency is responsible for entering and updating any housing opportunities at their agency. This can be done by accessing the Availability tab on the Referrals page. And each agency must enter their project's housing opportunities in order to receive matches from either community queue. So you can see on the right-hand side where we have sort of a step-by-step on how to add availability. And so you'll go to the Availability tab and then click on adding either a single or adding multiple openings. And then if you add multiple openings, it'll open up another sort of pop-up window, and it'll allow you to add the number of opportunities that are available, and also, you know, things like which household you will be serving and things like that. So next slide, please.
Diana, before we move forward, we actually did get a question from bed reservation, so I'm gonna go back to that slide.
Okay, all right.
So we had a question, if we don't enroll the client each week, they are off the bed reservation. So you wouldn't be enrolling the client, they are already enrolled in the coordinated entry program. What you do instead is add the needs bed reservation assistance service every 7 days. So you should be doing that every week. This is to ensure that the matchmaker CS leads are aware if the household is still in need of the service. So if a service expires, their referral will also expire. So it's important to review and ensure that you're adding the service to keep the household active on the queue. And Diana is actually going to review the history tab, which also helps you with reviewing CS history, services, and enrollments. So we'll go back to editing and move forward. Thank you, Diana. So we'll go to editing now.
So once a housing opportunity has been created, they can be edited or deleted, again on the Availability tab of the Referrals page by clicking the drop-down for the project and clicking the Add or Delete buttons next to the housing opportunities. For editing housing opportunities, please note housing providers need to review the opportunities to ensure it's accurate and up to date. If a referral is denied, the opportunity is now open again. So if a referral was denied, then that opportunity will be opened back up again for another referral. Next slide, please. Next, we'll be going over the History tab. The History tab is a useful resource to edit, view, and manage the client's profile. There's color coding for the History tab in HMIS to distinguish between coordinated entry events and other historical events. A section is dedicated to reviewing the client profile for CES workflow to assist those working with CES participants in our knowledge base articles. So you can see here in the screenshots on the right-hand side, when you go to the History tab, you have the option to search by category, by agency, start and end date, and then the type. You can also toggle for coordinated entry. And when you do that, when you toggle on for coordinated entry, it'll only give you coordinated entry searches. So it won't display any of the other historical items. There's also a video on our KB which will explain the History tab and managing historical items for a client in HMIS that has been uploaded.
Thank you, Diana. I don't see any questions, so we'll move forward. Michaela?
Good morning, everyone. The HMIS team wanted to inform you that there will be a new update for the HMIS testing form. So there's a new update with the HMIS account and testing form. When an agency administrator is filling out the form and indicate a user needs individual or family CES, the AA will be asked a follow-up question. The AA will select the primary role that the user holds at the agency, which is shown to the right. So you would select the role of the agency and then submit the form. Also select if the client needs, or sorry, the agent needs a family CES or individual CES. And the next slide, Elizabeth. So for the HMIS project closeout and active clients, a project cannot be closed out if there are still active enrollments. The agency administrator can run the GNRL 106 program roster to review current roster to ensure all clients have been exited from the project. How to get here will be through Pathway. You will go to the report library, program-based reports. You will select the GNRL 106 program roster. You will go ahead and set the status to active within the report date range, which is shown here to the right.
Thank you, Michaela. And
You are
once
very welcome.
Thank you. And once you run the report, please review to verify that all clients are exited. If there are clients that don't have an exit date, that means they are currently still active in your project. So please go ahead and exit them before you close out the project. I don't see any questions, so we'll move forward. Heather?
Morning, everyone. Clarity has provided a new update where if a user tries to enroll a client into a group enrollment for a program in which the client already has an active enrollment, the system will allow the client to be enrolled. However, the system will now display the following pop-up, and you'll see that at the top right of the screen, which says, please note that at least one of these household members has an active enrollment in this program. To continue with the creation of this enrollment, please select the OK button below. Use this warning to help avoid duplicate enrollments. If the client was enrolled as an individual and needs their program enrollment merged with their household members, reach out to your agency administrator to request support from the HMIS Help Desk. The next slide, please. And moving on, presentation. So this subject is regarding grant consolidation and closing projects. The clients may need to be moved from one HMIS project to another due to circumstances such as grant consolidation. The method by which this is done in HMIS can impact future reporting in annual performance reports or system performance measures and other reports, so care must be taken to transition clients in the appropriate way. When project or client transfers are needed, agencies must decide the method in advance prior to the end of an operating year. HUD has provided guidance called the Grant Consolidation and Closing Projects, How to Handle Client Data in HMIS to assist agencies in this process. So the document discusses circumstances that may require a client or group of clients to be moved, and it covers methods with client transfers and project transfers and the implications for each method. So this is a case-by-case situation, so it's best after reviewing the document to submit a ticket to the HMIS help desk so that we can support your agency in this process. Moving on. The COC Dashboard contains information on clients who were active in any project type in HMIS or contacted 2110C for information and referral. The COC Dashboard for the second quarter, reflecting the period between April through June of this year, has been released, and it's available to be reviewed on the OCHMIS website under the Reports tab, or you can use a link in the meeting minutes posted after this meeting.
Thank you, Heather. I don't see any questions coming in, so we'll move forward. Linda?
Good morning, everyone. So the Q2 data quality report cards will be published shortly. Just want to thank you all for participating in reviewing your data and making the corrections. So I wanted to go over that the HMIS data report cards go over 3 things, which is the data completeness, data accuracy, and data timeliness. So with completeness, this refers to the degree to which all required data is known, valid, and documented in HMIS. A data element is considered to have a valid response when it is in accordance with HUD standards and is different than client doesn't know, client refused, and data not collected. Data accuracy refers to the degree to which data entered in HMIS represents real information on the clients that are served in the project, contributing data to the system. And as for data timeliness, this shows the average number of days taken to enter in project start, project exits, and services provided into HMIS for each project. And by HUD standards, this is 3 days. The report card will have a slicer which allows the agency to review their data as a whole. A project level slicer will also be available. And the Universal Data Elements Data Completeness Dashboard and also the details, as well as the Timeliness Dashboard details report will also be included in the agency and project name filters. So we will be sending out an email notification once it has been published to the website, so please be on the lookout for that. Also, we ask that you review your data and please let us know if you have any questions by submitting a ticket to the help desk. You can look at the updated HMIS report cards on the link provided on the slide, which will also be included in the meeting minutes.
Thank you, Linda. Before we move forward, I see a raised hand. If you would like to unmute yourself or add your question to the chat, please do so.
Thank you. It's Christine DeLeon, Orange County Housing Authority. I may have missed it, but I presume an email went out informing us to clean up our data for this data quality report card. Again, I think I missed it. So did that happen?
Yes.
Okay, and what was the end up time frame to do that cleanup?
Linda, could you confirm the date?
Yeah, so hold on. We sent it out probably on like the 2nd week of July. So then you guys had until the 24th to have it completed. And so we are now in the process of finalizing that report.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your question. I don't see any other questions, so we'll move forward. Linda?
I don't see any. And then we also have the emergency project performance report that was recently published. You can go ahead and view that published report here on our website. We have linked that on the slide. So the PPR highlights different measures that HUD and also the COC have determined that is important in effectively ending homelessness for the clients in the OC. We have linked the project performance overview for more information regarding the schedule for these reports, the description of each measure, and then also the threshold for each project type. We have the street outreach PPR that's coming up. This will also be published on next Thursday, I believe. And then we are also in the process of starting the homeless prevention PPR. So please be on the lookout for that email notifying you of the homeless PPR draft data in your Dropbox. That will be coming shortly.
Thank you, Linda. We had a few questions in the chat, so we're going to ask that agency admin to submit ticket to the HMIS help desk so that we can work with your agency individually about that. Okay, thank you. Armando?
The Office of Care Coordination will be hosting a training on trauma-informed care. Through this training, service providers will learn the basics of trauma and how it impacts the delivery of homeless services and understand the principles of trauma-informed care, and also to identify ways to incorporate principles into service delivery practices. This is a training that's going to require registration, so the deadline to register for this training is going to be Wednesday, a week from today, on August 9th. The training itself will take place on Thursday, the 10th, and it will be from 1:30 to 3 p.m. in the afternoon on that Thursday.
Thank you, Armando, for sharing that. And we want to remind everyone that we will be sharing training opportunities hosted by the Office of Care Coordination, HUD, and other partners on our website. So please feel free to visit our website and review the posts about any upcoming training opportunities. Linda?
I just wanted to remind everyone that we have a holiday coming up. The HMIS office will be closed on Monday, September 4th for the Labor Day holiday. We will be back in the office to assist you the following Tuesday, September 5th. Have a safe holiday.
Thank you all for joining us. If you join us a little bit later on, please enter your name into the chat box so that we can take attendance. So we do have some time for Q&A. If you have any questions related to topics we discussed today, please feel free to add the question to the chat or unmute yourself. And of course, if a question comes up later on, please reach out to your agency admin and they can submit a ticket to the HMIS help desk. I don't think I see any questions coming on, so we just want to say thank you all for joining us and have a great day. Our next user meeting will be September 6th, so we'll see you then. For those who want to stay on for office hours, feel free to do so. And those who don't want to participate in office hours, you can feel free to hop off. Again, thank you all for joining us, and we'll get started with office hours.
Thank you so much. It was great information.
Thank you.